Hi, and welcome to the NewsGuard Academy. In today's video, we're going to go over NewsGuard's criterion for disclosing ownership and financing on news websites, why this disclosure is an important component of a site's overall transparency practices, and how NewsGuard handles that criterion, which is one of 9 used to judge the overall credibility and transparency of any site. This is based on our criterion, which states that a site must disclose in a reader-friendly manner its ownership and financing, as well as any notable financial or political affiliations relevant to a site's coverage. Readers should know who is funding the content and what relevant interests the owner or funder might have in the content. Disclosing ownership helps readers evaluate potential conflicts of interest and better understand the perspectives that may shape a site's coverage. When news organizations are transparent about who owns and funds them, it builds trust with the audience and allows readers to make more informed judgments about the content they consume. A lack of disclosure may raise questions about the motives behind a site and about potential hidden conflicts of interest in its reporting and selection of stories. Today, we'll look at a few examples of sites that adequately disclose their ownership and financing, and some that do not meet our standard. Let's start by looking at NBCnews.com. On the site's About Us page, it clearly states that NBC is part of NBC Universal, which is owned by Comcast Corporation. This is an adequate disclosure in NewsGuard's view. For nonprofit newsrooms, NewsGuard's criterion states that a site should identify major donors in a place where a reader can find that information readily. Let's look at ProPublica, which clearly states on its About page that it is a nonprofit newsroom. That same page also links to the organization's financial reporting documents. On this page, we can see links to annual reports, financial statements, and ProPublica's Form 990 IRS filings. The annual report discloses the names of donors who contributed $5,000 or more a year and the amounts that they gave. This all meets NewsGuard's standard. Now let's look at some examples of sites that do not meet NewsGuard's ownership standard. The Boston Globe is owned by John W. Henry, a billionaire who also owns the Boston Red Sox and the Liverpool Football Club. He owns the Boston Globe through the Boston Globe Media Partners, LLC. While the site includes a small copyright disclosure at the bottom of its homepage naming Boston Globe Media Partners, LLC, this does not meet NewsGuard's standard for disclosing ownership in a user-friendly manner, such as on an About or a Contact page, because the average reader would not know to check this small copyright language. The site also does not consistently disclose Henry's ownership of the Globe in news stories about his businesses, including in articles about the Red Sox and the Liverpool soccer team. This also does not meet NewsGuard's ownership criterion, because a reader engaging with those stories would not know that the Globe's owner has a vested interest in those articles. Alpha News, a Minnesota-focused conservative news site, does not disclose any information about its ownership and financing. Through its reporting, NewsGuard was able to determine that the site is a nonprofit newsroom founded by a man named Alex Karam, who also serves as the executive director of the Minnesota Freedom Club, a free market-oriented conservative advocacy group. Because Alpha News is a nonprofit, and it does not disclose any of its donors or its founders and president's connection to the Minnesota Freedom Club, this does not meet NewsGuard's standard. Adequately disclosing a site's owner and sources of major funding is a hallmark of a trustworthy news organization. When these disclosures are not present, it's important to carefully consider whether the information you are consuming may be influenced by partisan or financial interests. Thanks for watching the NewsGuard Academy, a video series about practical tips to spot falsehoods and verify information on your social media and newsfeed. I'm Sophia Rubinson, an editor of NewsGuard's Reality Check newsletter. To learn more about NewsGuard's standards of reliability, be sure to subscribe to NewsGuard's Reality Check newsletter at newsguardrealitycheck.com. See you in the next video.